Okay, and it's landed on boxing. So, as it's landed on boxing, this would be a good time for me to introduce this to the proceedings. What do I know? Fury Joshua. Simon, overnight, I have information that's come to me which tells me that Saudi Arabia has said that it wants the fight. And they have now sent a letter of intent to the promoters. Saudi now want to go to the contract stage for Fury Joshua. And I'm told that everything now regarding the first fight, everything looks positive. It would be a 2-fight deal, as Danny and I touched on earlier. We knew that already. We got information on that. And it's going to be a 50-50 split. Thereafter, the second fight would be 60-40. But the final line to this, Saudi want it. Saudi want to get it. The earliest it would be is August. August.
Yeah.
So that's where we're at.
Well, that was along the lines of what we discussed earlier on. You know, when Eddie Hearn came on and Frank Warren came on, they talked about the necessity to get this fight on, and ideally it would be June, right? And then if they fight in June or July, they can come out again in October, November. Of course, that's all subject to the fact that no one gets dropped heavy and they don't have to have all the rehabilitation that would go with a fight being delayed because of someone getting knocked out, which you would expect in a fight of this nature. One of these guys is going to get knocked out and perhaps you can't put a passage of time on it. But, I'm not surprised at Saudi Arabia. I actually think they're the only game in town. I think Eddie Hearn is playing a game of I'll get you to bid against yourself, keep putting your hand up in the room and see how much you can bid against yourself for. Yeah. It's interesting to see if they've got the money, because we were sat here, you know, I was spitting feathers about the fact that when did it become decided that these guys had to have 100 million quid each or there wasn't going to be a fight. The market will pay what the market pays. But we're kind of going round in ever-decreasing circles, aren't we? Which is, We've got to the point where we thought it was that the only guys that can possibly stage this fight economically will be the Middle Eastern guys, Saudi Arabia. And the only thing that really interests me is when. Yeah. Okay, we know all this. We know you're going to have a fight. We know that that potentially it's going to be in the Middle East because they're the only ones stupid enough to pay 120 million quid site fee if that's what they've got.
Well, the when now is the earliest, Danny, will be August. So we can forget June, July. It's too soon for that.
I'm kind of past it. It's like it's just when it'll happen now. It's been that long in the making. You kind of just don't get excited till you know for sure. Hypothesising.
But it's interesting because we had Eddie Hearn on here, categoric, not slightly debating it, absolutely unequivocal June fight. Well, you said September from the sources that you have, and August is leaning towards September. August at the earliest.
That's right.
Smells like September, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, we knew the deadline was yesterday, and these proposals came in overnight. And Saudi has come out and said, right, we're after it. We want it. So now the letter of intent to the promoters will go their way today. And they will respond accordingly to Saudi.
See, I don't understand how you've signed a contract. How have you signed a contract? A contract that meant nothing. Because if we couldn't get the money and if we couldn't get the venue, the contract that we signed wasn't worth the paper it was written on.
With the two fighters.
So all it was Eddie getting in front of us saying, keep the hype, keep the hype, keep the hype. I think people are beginning to get a little bit fed up with it. Yeah. And I'll tell you who I'd get fed up with it. I'll tell you who should get fed up with it. Alexander Usyk and Dillian Whyte. They should get royally fed up with it because they have to put their livelihoods on hold whilst these two wonderful fighters pontificate about how many tens of millions they will actually fight for.
Sure.
Because this fight could be made any time that they wanted to if the money wasn't the driving factor. Yeah. It's not the venue. It's not who's got the purse anymore because they've agreed to split it. It's how much they can rinse out of this fight. Now, and I know that Frank will say, and so will Eddie, rightly so, that, you know, these guys going in the ring are getting this. But when we start getting into territory of 50, 60, 70 million quid, we do have to get a bit of context, don't we? You can fight for 30 million quid. If you can't get 60, you can actually fight for 35 million quid or 40 million quid. And that's the issue that we're at. But, you know, if we're moving along to a designated date now, because that's the only thing we've ever wanted was a date.
That's right.
Well, I don't care how much they get paid, really, do you?
That's right. Well, a date in a venue. A date in a venue is what we want. What we need to know.
I think we always knew that the Americans weren't going to house it. They're not interested in Anthony Joshua. He's nobody over there. Last time we went over there, he got beat up by the Pillsbury Doughboy. Right? Tyson Fury, however, is something a bit more meaningful. Well, he did, didn't he? He got beaten up by a little fat bloke from Mexico.
Yeah. Right? He didn't get his own back.
I might be wrong with it, but Tyson Fury did too. I haven't seen AJ talk about the money side of it, but Fury did say something recently about he wasn't, you know, obviously he is concerned about money, but he just wants to get the fight done.
Yeah.
They're both very wealthy guys, aren't they? Not as you said, so who cares really?
But you also, on the other side of the argument, you're also going to get, these are once in a lifetime opportunities. You got to take them when they're there. So you can't have, you've got hedge fund managers that make 100 million quid a year. They want to make $1 billion. I understand it, right? Yeah. But there gets a point now where you can trot out the same narrative. We've been listening to this now for 6 months. All right, now, come on now. We know there's a pandemic, but given in principle, give a date and let's move along.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, there is a lot to discuss.
What?
I mean, the money on offer is going to be phone numbers. Will it be Saudi? Will it be Qatar? Vegas was mentioned. There was even talk of England last week. England was never going to happen for the first fight. Never going to happen.
And that's a shame because it's a shame to some extent because ultimately this isn't about sport then. This isn't about their ability to be able to market this fight around the world. This is about the Saudis and the Middle Eastern guys buying up sport and doing whatever they want to do with it. Because if you really wanted to make it a boxing bonanza, you'd fight it in Vegas or you'd fight in London because that's where the heartbeat. It ain't in the Middle East, is it?
No.
I mean, come on now.
No, it's not. So that's what we know. Earliest it'll be is August, and as you rightly say, Simon, for August, maybe read September. It is a 2-fight deal. We knew that anyway, and Saudi Arabia has now said it wants it and is going to get it, and will send a letter of intent to the promoters today. That was today's The Drop Zone from William Hill, Vegas.